Hi, I'm Ricki Pryor, and this is this week's Priority Report.
The Priority Report is brought to you by Cumberland Valley National Bank, trusted for banking, known for caring. Visit them at cvnb.com. Chenault Vineyards, a place to create beautiful experiences. Visit them online at chenaultvineyards.com. Shelter Insurance, Ashley Kovaleski. Give her a call, 859-624-0883, located 112 Big Hill Avenue in Richmond, and kymedia.net.
Welcome back to the Priority Report. This week, Wes Browne is joining me. Thank you so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
So Wes is joining me. He's the man behind the alcohol petition for countywide alcohol sales. He's an attorney here and co-owner of Apollo's Pizza. And this is kind of a special thing for you, right?
It's a little different. I've done these petitions before for clients, and technically Apollo Pizza is my client, but I'm also a part of Apollo Pizza, so I'm playing two roles here. As an attorney, I'm working on this petition on behalf of my client, Apollo Pizza, and I'm also Apollo Pizza to some extent, so it's a little bit of a unique scenario, but it's working.
So how did this alcohol petition begin?
At one point, it was believed, and the laws on this are really complex, and literally attorneys can read the same law and at the end of it end up scratching their head and say, we're not really sure what it means. But it was believed that county precincts could vote themselves wet individually. And there was actually an election here earlier this year to take a county precinct wet, and when ABC was asked to issue the licenses, they said, no, we're not issuing the licenses. You can't just take a precinct wet. Well, I was in the middle of an effort to take another precinct wet where we have an Apollo Pizza location, and it was
Little Sac.
Yeah, Little Sac on Colonel Road in northern Madison County. So we were making an effort to just take that precinct wet, and we got the word that's not going to work. You can't do it. And I looked around and I talked to some folks about it, and they said it's past time that the county voted on the entirety of it going wet. And so there's some misconceptions here. One, people will say, well, I just signed a petition. I don't need to sign the petition. If you signed a petition in the last year and a half, it's probably no good. So the new petition I filed on August 8th, people say it's countywide, and they think, oh, it's for people in the county. That's not accurate. It's for people in the city of Richmond, it's for people in the city of Berea, and it's for voters out in Madison County. Any voter 18 and older, any registered voter, and in fact, there's some scenarios where you can be a registered voter and you're not necessarily 18 yet, so that there's a question of those signatures are good. But anyone 18 and older in Richmond City, Berea City, or Madison County can sign this petition. It will be on every ballot in the county, city and county ballots both. It's for everybody, and it will change a lot. And you know, to get there, I'll talk to people and they say, oh, I signed the petition. From my point of view, I'm like, okay, great, you signed it. I need your wife, and I need your friends, and I need your coworkers, because to get enough signatures to get on the ballot, it really takes quite a few signatures. We'll find out the number at the November general election. The number of signatures required on the petition is determined by the last general election. So we're trying to put it on the ballot in May of 2023. That number will not be determined until the November general election, and then I'll know, okay, this is how many valid signatures I need to get. In the meantime, I'm just trying to pile up as many as I can. And
that's by Kentucky statute.
Yes,
like there's a law that says that you have to use the past general election. So you're kind of getting in front of it, trying to get as much to have this on the ballot in the May primary.
And you don't have to vote in the general to sign the petition or vote in May. It's just a number of people equal to 25%. It doesn't have to be the same people. So
now you kind of mentioned this, that it's for everybody, it's for a countywide vote. If this passes, then the county is wet.
Yes.
So existing kind of laws kind of go a little bit out the window in certain areas, right?
So if it doesn't pass, everything stays the same. Wet areas stay wet, moist areas stay wet. If it passes, every part of the county is wet. The areas that are currently wet stay wet, the areas that are moist go wet, and the areas that are dry become wet also. Now, by law, folks could vote their precincts back dry after the fact. Every precinct has a right to determine their own status. So it can be taken back, but it will take everything wet, and then it would go from there. Essentially, the communities in central Kentucky that border Fayette County are wet except Madison. And Madison is seen as a little bit of an oddity. When this was on the ballot in Jessamine County in 2020, people said, oh, it might be close. It was 72-28.
Wow.
So
72-4.
72 in favor of going wet, and 28 against. So you really have a scenario where it's sort of a, the dry opinion is somewhat of a minority opinion right now, but it's controlling because there's never been a vote.
Right.
Our take is let the people decide. Let the people of Madison County decide what they want to be. This has been untouched since like the 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, the law in the county has.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, some people are confused to where they're like, oh, well, the county's already wet. I can buy beer in Richmond. I can buy it on Sundays now because the Richmond City Commission passed the Sunday package sales. And in Berea, you can go and drink with food in the restaurants. But that's not necessarily true for in the county. The cities have their own laws regulating alcohol.
Where I live, I can't, there's a gas station up the street. They actually have a beer cooler with no beer in it. They built it, but you can't get a beer near my house. I can't go get a six-pack, and none of my neighbors can. If you live in Berea, sure, you can go to a restaurant and get a beer, but if you want to go buy a six-pack of beer or whatever, if you want to have something at home, you need to drive a half-hour round trip to go get it. Our take on this is treat every adult like an adult. Give everyone the same rights in the county. And, I know there's sometimes concern about, well, what if it goes wet everywhere? Basically, you have people now who are going out to buy alcohol who are driving long distances. If you have any concerns about travel and that sort of thing, they're made worse by dry areas. They're made worse by dry precincts because people who want to have a drink will go get a drink, and they will get there one way or another. And we have laws to control that and combat that as much as possible. Keeping areas dry in certain parts of the county doesn't really affect that measurably. The other issue is places like northern Madison County where there's a lot of residents, we cannot get a grocery store.
Right.
Grocery store chains will not come into a dry territory. So you have all these people in northern Madison County who say, why can't we have a grocery store? If you want a grocery store in northern Madison County, you need to vote wet. You need to sign the petition to vote wet. If you live in Berea and you don't only like to shop at Walmart, you want a Kroger. Well, Berea have tried to recruit Kroger, and Kroger says, we don't do this moist stuff. Kroger stores, you have to be able to sell wine and beer before Kroger and a lot of other brands will come in. That's the reason why you don't see so many shopping grocery stores. Richmond's got lots of them. Yeah. Richmond City, because that's where they all have collected. It again is a thing of a feeling like everybody in the county should be treated the same way. It shouldn't, the way you're treated shouldn't depend on your address in the county. So.
Not just that, but I mean, from your standpoint, kind of what prompted this was potential economic benefits.
Yes.
In the business that you co-own. We
have 2 Apollo pizzas in wet areas, in downtown Richmond and in Berea in Madison County. We have one called Little Sac in northern Madison County. It's interesting because it's a carry-out and delivery place, and when the pandemic started, oddly enough, it was a place that did kind of well because it was just carry-out and delivery, and that's all people were doing. Since the pandemic, and since it's gotten harder to hire people, we struggled to keep staff. It's a hard place to staff. The business is different. The hours have changed. It's not done very well since the pandemic. One of the reasons it doesn't do well, and the reasons our employees don't like to work there, they like to work at the places that are full service. They like to work at the sit-down places. They like to make tips. They like to do a lot of other things. Little Sac's not that way, so it struggled. We looked at a place, there's a place in Fayette County, rural Fayette County, called Boondogs, that does booming business. They have a beer garden, they have a restaurant, they sell wine, you can do all that stuff, and people in those parts of the county flock to it. That was what we hoped to do with Little Sac. We wanted to put in a beer garden, we wanted to do wine, we wanted to do frozen drinks. We thought, okay, we'll vote this one precinct wet. We were in the process of doing that, and we couldn't. We found out we couldn't. And so it keeps entertainment, dining, all those options out of whole segments of the county, and it makes the people who live in those segments of the county have to go other places for it, and they can't get it close to home. If you've looked around northern Madison County, it's a couple of fast food places, you know, gas stations. There's not much to eat though, and that would change. It would change if.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why there's a restaurant right across like the river.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
In Fayette County, not in northern Madison County. So yeah, and these kind of like southern Madison County, Berea, and northern Madison County, if it went wet, the opportunities for businesses to either expand or come in could be a great benefit for jobs and economic growth.
It really is, and when I think living in Kentucky and living in a place like Madison County where you have wet, dry, moist, it becomes normal.
Right.
But for a lot of the rest of the world, that is very odd.
Very confusing for tourists.
Yes, for tourists and for companies that are looking to expand to our county, when they find that out, they back off. You know, there are a lot of stories, and it's changed some because it's gone moist, but people would go stay in Berea. They'd find out it was dry and they would leave.
Yes.
And it happened all the time, and people complained about it. People would sit down in restaurants, find out it was dry. That has all improved. But tourists want to go to a place that's like other places in the world they're used to, where they can kind of, you know, socialize and have a good time. And, you know, for a lot of people, they want to responsibly have some alcohol. And we don't, I don't know, we don't trust ourselves or something, but it's time to trust ourselves. Like I said, every adult in Madison County should be treated like an adult. So that's how it is most places.
Well, and there's really been no kind of, I mean, the Richmond City Commission has had the package alcohol sales, which has been great for that area, but there really hasn't been any movement in the county on this since years ago. I think there was a petition in 2018 that couldn't get enough signatures because obviously that was, you know, the gubernatorial election, and the signatures, everybody went out and voted for that one. So
they would have needed around 9,000 signatures, which is what we're shooting for. We don't think we're going to need that many, but we've made that our goal because we've looked at what they were going to need, and so we've set our goal around 9,000 signatures, which is what they would have need at a high turnout election. Probably be lower.
Right.
But we've made it easier. That's one thing, is through technology.
Yes.
There's a website called alcoholvote.com. I bought the shortest domain name that made sense that was available. So it's alcoholvote.com. Anyone who wants to sign the petition, you go there. It takes less than a minute to sign the petition.
Does, yeah.
We've also put out QR codes. Not everybody loves them, but you know, you hold your phone up to it and it takes a picture and it takes you right there. There's a QR code that we've spread out. There's alcoholvote.com. There's also a Facebook page. We set that up. It's Madison County Alcohol Vote. People can follow that. We have an FAQ, frequently asked questions section, on that Facebook page for people who want to know more. If people want to ask questions, they can contact that. The person who's going to answer that's probably me. And I've spent a lot of time with this and learned a lot about it. And you know, City of Berea were asking a lot of questions. I was talking to their city attorney, and we went back and forth. And they believe one thing, and I said I think it's another. They researched it and ultimately came back and said, no, we think you're right. This is the way it works. So it's been a lot of time, effort, and research that's gone into it, and we think we've got this thing ready to go. We think it's going to pass, and we just need those signatures. We think we'll get them, but all the signatures we can get help.
Now, when you get the signatures, it has to go to the county clerk.
Correct.
And he has to verify all the signatures.
Correct.
Until it gets put on the ballot. So getting the amount, especially eligible voters,
yes,
they have to be registered voters. So, I mean, that's going to be very important that you are a registered voter, 18 and over, that signs it. And it's going to be, you kind of have to do kind of a wildfire burn and getting everybody involved to try and get as many, because, I mean, if the clerk, if there's somebody that signed it twice or something, he's going to have to push them out.
I've taken some of those out already. I can do that. But we expect there will be some attrition. Some of those signatures won't be good, which is why we're trying to get more than enough signatures. And
then what is written on the petition is also the phrasing, the exact phrasing that's going to be on the ballot. So that's, if you sign the petition, that's the phrasing on the ballot, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's like in law. You have to do that, right?
So what the law says is you have to get it right, and there's also a substantial compliance. So if it's clear what you meant and you got it right, they're going to honor that. I drafted it. It's pretty clear. It says Madison County.
Right.
The rest of the verbiage comes directly from statute.
Excellent. And then that is going to be in the, if we get enough signatures, or you get enough signatures, I don't have anything to do with this.
You live in Madison County.
I live in Madison County. I live in Berea.
Yeah, there you go.
So, if you get enough signatures, then it goes not to the general one, because that's where we figure out how many you need, but to the May primary.
Correct. The May primary
is when you'll be able to vote.
And it's on every ballot. It's on Madison County ballots. It's on Richmond City ballots. It's on Berea City ballots. Everyone who lives anywhere in Madison County will have an opportunity to vote on this.
So again, if you live in Richmond, if you live in Berea, if you live in the cities, it doesn't matter. You can still, you can still vote. You can still sign the petition.
Yep.
To get it on the ballot. Excellent. Real quick, I know we talked about, the economic impact of it and how the laws will change, but I mean, there are people that are, and we spoke about alcohol, if people that have to drive and get it, that a lot of DUIs or car crashes. But I mean, a lot of people are very uncomfortable to have that change. I mean, what are you kind of saying to those people that are kind of hesitant and they're like, oh no, I don't want liquor stores in every corner?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I respect everybody's right to have their own opinion on it and their beliefs and their values. But I also think you have to not presume people are going to do wrong. You have to presume people are going to do right and let them be responsible. You have to give people the option of what every other law-abiding person can do. Just because someone lives 5 miles down the road doesn't mean they should have lesser rights than someone lives somewhere else. And quite frankly, distance isn't going to change anything. Other counties who've passed this have not seen, the place hasn't gone downhill.
Right.
Typically, it brings more economic opportunities and prosperity. Usually those things help a county. They help the quality of life of folks. And so, I never want to upset anybody, but I'm also going to stand for what I believe in, and I believe that everybody should be treated the same. And I think it's time for Madison County to come into the 21st century rather than the first half of the 20th century. So,
excellent. Well, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you for having me here.
Give them the website one more time to do it.
Alcoholvote.com, simple as can be. The Facebook page is Madison County Alcohol Vote, and any questions anyone has are welcome to send there, and we'll try to get them answered. And we would appreciate you, your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your coworkers, your friends signing it. We need everybody if we're going to do this, and let the people decide. If we're anything like other local counties and 70% of the people want this changed, why shouldn't it change? So that's where I'm at on it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Good luck.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, and that's it for this week's Priority Report. Join me next week when I give you more news you need to know about.
The Priority Report is brought to you by Cumberland Valley National Bank. Trusted for banking, known for caring. Visit them at cvnb.com. Chenault Vineyards, a place to create beautiful experiences. Visit them online at chenaultvineyards.com. Shelter Insurance, Ashley Kovaleski. Give her a call, 859-624-0883, located 112 Big Hill Avenue in Richmond, and kymedia.net. Download the Richmond Register News app on your favorite device, or sign up and subscribe online at richmondregister.com.